Hey, this is Iffy Natasha, and this is the Crowns Up podcast. Keep your crowns up.
What's good, family? It's the kid, Professor X. Welcome to another lovely edition of the Crowns Up podcast. This is episode 16. Man, I know it has been a while since you've seen us, and that's because we've been on quarantine and we've been trying to get everything else together, such as the audio, the video. I'm pleased to announce we are on all streaming platforms, baby.
Nice.
Yes, you can listen and watch us, the Crowns Up podcast, on YouTube. You can go listen on Spotify, on Apple, Google Play, wherever you can stream a podcast, you can find us. All right. So if you haven't already, if you're not hip to it, please go follow us on social media and subscribe at Crowns Up Pod. That's CROWNSUPPOD. You know we're the number one spot for hip hop, faith, and culture. All right, keeping your crown fit and your soul lit all the time. And I got a special guest back in the building today because it's a special episode. All right, and I had to bring back the queen.
Hello.
All hail, Iffy Natasha. Babe, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Okay.
Every time. You think we get used to it. It's okay. This is what happens when you're married, all right? Anyway, babe, how you been?
I've been good. Quarantine and Black Lives Matter and all of the things that come with all of that has been crazy. But yeah. I've been good, though. I've been good.
And as you can see, we're dressing out all black because, power to the people. We definitely want to salute the black people. Black lives do matter. And this is going to be a very black episode of the Crowns Up podcast, as if every episode isn't very black, but this is going to be especially black. So if you ain't into that, you might want to tune out, find another episode, do what you need to do, because we're going to get into it, all right? First, for those who don't know, Iffy Natasha, if you haven't been a follower, if you're new to the Crowns Up podcast, Iffy Natasha is a prolific writer and author. She's a poet, a mother, an MC when she want to be, an amazing wife as well, and a great best friend. And so you can definitely, why am I giving this? Yo, babe, tell them how they can find you, what they need to do if they want to buy a book or they want to get in.
Okay, so if you want to buy a book, you go to Amazon.com and you look up my name, Iffy Natasha. I have 3 books currently: Learning to Love, 100 Questions for the Soul, and 100 Questions for the Soul, the journal version. There's 2 different versions. You can find me on Instagram at Iffy Natasha, Facebook, Iffy Natasha, and IffyNatasha.com if you would like to read a few things. So yeah, there's a lot of different places that you can find me.
Bet. All right, so as always, we got to get into what's good with the culture. And for the past 3 months, it's been a lot that's been good with the culture, or a lot has been happening in the culture. Let's first of all start off with COVID-19. That's right, the coronavirus is still going crazy. We've been in quarantine for about 3 months now.
Right.
I know in the last episode I said, just wash your hands, everything will be all good. And I still believe that. You still need to wash your hands. You need to social distance, stay 6 feet away from people. But it's been 3 months and we still been on lockdown, and corona has taken out a lot of people, man. It's been crazy. We've lost a lot of celebrities, including Little Richard, Fred the Godson.
Not the corona, but just in general, right?
Well, Little Richard in general. Fred the Godson took corona.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Fred the Godson, a prolific MC from the Bronx. Rest in peace to their family. We just lost a Pointer sister the other day. For those who don't know, the Pointer Sisters were very prominent in the 70s. And so there's been a lot of different, Andre Harrell, hip hop, that was a big loss for hip hop.
Right.
And so there's been a lot of people that have been dying in 2020. A lot of people want 2020 to be canceled. And so quarantine, again, has had us on lock. We've been in masks. It looks like we're in World War Z out here, man. In these streets, it's been real crazy. Iffy. I call it Aye, whatever. It's my life. Aye, tell the people, how have you been dealing with quarantine? What's your life been like during these past 3 months of lockdown?
Yeah, it's been crazy, but also great. So on one hand, it's like, okay, we're all home. it's nice to be spending time with each other. It's nice to be spending time with the kids and seeing them more than we would if they were at school. But then at the same time, you have days or weeks where you're like, I need them to go somewhere outside by themselves for hours at a time. So it's a little hectic trying to like fix food every few hours we're making, food for them. They asking for snacks.
Facts.
But personally, I think I've been just trying to stay as healthy as possible, mentally, emotionally, physically, trying to eat well, just making sure that this time is a time of like restoration and almost rehabilitation almost. And so I think that's how I've been trying to look at it. Like, okay, how can I stay well in this time, appreciate where we are, but also like kind of prepare myself for whatever's next. So it's been cool. It has its challenging moments, but overall, I'm kind of grateful for the break a little bit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that I've encountered at first was very grateful for the break because they've been going so hard and they haven't had time to spend with their families and stuff like that. But then there's like that itch. It's like, all right, I need to get back to work. You know what I mean? Speaking of work, there's been a lot of people who've been laid off from their jobs.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I still have jobs, but I also had to take some cuts as well. So I'm feeling it as well. So keep your crowns up for all those who may be watching this and they may be like, man, it's been a struggle. They've been dipping in their savings. They've been trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. Like, I feel you.
Yeah. And
we're going to be praying for you. You're going to make it through. It's been real crazy. I've been trying to be mad productive and getting caught up on the things that I need to get caught up on. Yep. I've definitely been hustling. God has definitely shown favor to us as far as increasing us financially in different places. He's also blessed with different opportunities.
Yeah.
So that's been a blessing.
Yeah.
An unforeseen blessing. I can say that. I can say that. Definitely been enjoying spending time with my kids and, doing like water slides and going outside and taking little trips. Definitely Kroger has been an interesting experience with, the first few days of, everything being wiped out. You couldn't find toilet paper, hand sanitizer, nothing. Now it's like cats don't even care no more. They just outside like, Piedmont Park would be popping. Like the drive-in movie theater be popping, all right? But there are still some businesses and some places that are really hurting financially, and they're really trying to make sure that people are safe. So, in the words of Killer Mike, okay, shout out to Killer Kill from the Ville. All right, in the words of Killer Mike, stay home if you can, mask up if you can't. All right, if you gotta go outside, make sure you put your mask on. Make sure you're social distancing. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. All right. Yeah. What else has been good with the culture? Quarantine radio. Okay. For those, this is a little lighter note. Tory Lanez has been doing this quarantine radio. I don't know if it's really been going on because lately he's been just challenging people in their train of thought with dealing with what I'm going to get into with the Crossroads segment. But if you was hip and watching quarantine radio, you was in for a treat. Everybody was checking in. Tory was having girls twerking on Instagram. He was battling French Montana. He was doing some crazy stuff. Quarantine. So in the daytime, it was definitely something to look forward to. Yeah. And we also had The Last Dance with showing the Bulls, 98 Bulls last season.
Every black man in America was watching.
Everybody, not even just the black men, everybody was watching The Last Dance, okay?
Yeah.
It went crazy. You watched it too?
I watched 2 episodes. I didn't have a choice. It was on TV all the time.
You didn't have a choice.
It was good though. It was good. I ain't gonna lie. It was good.
Thank you.
It was good.
It showed how great Michael Jordan was. All right. If you didn't think that Jordan was the GOAT before, you had no question in your mind after The Last Dance. It was really great, man. Yeah. And it showed a lot of back end stuff you just didn't know. Because we grew up watching it. It's a difference when you seeing it and you're like, oh man, from the death of his father to the little his mindset and trying to take people out.
Yeah, he was a beast.
Yeah, and Kobe. They showed the NBA All-Star with Kobe, and then they had a lot of different stars giving their 2 cents. Dennis Rodman was the man in the '90s, dating from Madonna to Carmen Electra. If you remember those people,
yeah, of course.
It was crazy. So The Last Dance was cool, but probably my favorite thing that has happened in quarantine has been Versus.
The Versus battle.
The Versus battle. Shout out to the homies
I feel like
Timbaland and Swizz Beatz. Yes.
They've been saving us for sure.
They do. So if you have not known, on IG, Instagram, Swizz Beatz and Timbaland redid their epic beat battle, song for song, just, for the culture. And then they had this great idea of challenging other producers to do it, right? So then you had, I think it was Manny Fresh versus Scott Storch. And then you had Neo versus Jonte Austin.
Yeah.
Then you had Little John versus T-Pain.
Epic.
Then they started getting into the artists.
Right.
And so you had Beanie Man versus Bounty Killer. That was crazy. You had Teddy Riley versus Babyface. You had
Erykah and Jill.
Erykah Badu and Jill Scott.
Yep.
You had Ludacris versus Nelly.
Yep. I like that one.
And in this past one, you had Fred Hammond versus Kirk Franklin.
They did that.
Yeah, they killed it. So if I want to know what's been your favorite versus battle, what's been your experience?
Yeah, so glad you asked. So I feel like I'm glad that you gave that little recap, because at first it was hard for me to remember the ones that I saw, but as you were saying, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. So I love T-Pain and Lil Jon. I think that might have been my favorite one because it was so like 2006 to 2010, like out of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like partying, going out, having fun with friends, like, and they play some. I think they play some older stuff too, but. That was great. And I watched it. I was on Zoom with friends. We were watching it together, dancing, that was fun. Fred Hammond and Kirk Franklin, though, spoke to a different part of my soul. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And I think it was at a time where we really, 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 really needed that.
Yeah.
And, we ain't been at church in months, and I haven't heard those songs in a while. So I think those would be my top two. I did appreciate Erykah and Jill. But I think, like, if I had to pick my favorite, it would probably be Lil Jon, T-Pain, and then Fred Hammond and Kirk.
Yeah. I would have to say I definitely enjoyed the first Swizz and Timbaland. Definitely enjoyed that.
Yeah, of course.
But Lil Jon and T-Pain was a moment.
It was a moment.
It was a moment. I had my popcorn out. We was dancing.
Which is a serious situation if y'all don't know. X don't bring out the popcorn for no reason.
No, man, you got to be special, okay? And, that was a special moment. Yeah. Definitely Fred and Kirk was a definitely pivotal moment because it took you back to growing up in church. If you grew up in church or whatever like that, you heard the song. Then they brought Marvin Sapp out. They brought Tamela Mann out. It was a moment. But one that I think we have to, of course, and then, you had the downfalls like the Jagged Edge and 112, the sound quality was bad, and no sound quality was worse than Teddy and Babyface. Oh my gosh. The worst, okay? The second time was a little bit better, though.
Was like, what is happening?
The second time was a little better, but the first one, oh my gosh, it was bad. Teddy was about to beat up his sound people. It was, and you had your hype man in the back. It was bad, okay? And the same with Nelly and Luda. Luda was something serious. But I want to give a shout out to Beanie Man and Bounty Killer because they put on for Jamaica in a major way. They was all at the same place. It was like a sound clash. DJs were going back and forth. It was like you only got to slip. They were talking junk about each other. They was freestyling. It was amazing. And so definitely for my internationals, what up? It was a major moment. But really the culture is winning because you got some phenomenal talent. You got phenomenal things. You got concerts popping up on IG that you can catch any day just because it's like, it's Tuesday. And there's some things that you're never going to, these are things that you wouldn't see had quarantine not happened.
True.
You know what I mean? So definitely shout out to them in the Versus community. Looking forward to the next one. So, babe, as always, I always ask, what have you been listening to during quarantine? Is there anything that's been really good for you? To your soul? What's up?
So it depends on the day. I've been listening to a lot of different things. The other day I went on a walk/jog and I listened to a bunch of Indie.Re, which is not normally what I would listen to, but I felt it, and it was so good to me. She's just so positive, and like, she also got a little bounce, so that was nice. I've been listening to a lot of gospel / Christian music as well during meditation. I've listened to a little bit of Lauren. What else have I been listening to during quarantine? I've been listening to some Caribbean music because it makes me feel happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just like the beat and it just makes me feel so happy, and I love to dance to it. Man, I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I have a playlist. I've been taking a lot of baths lately during quarantine, just like relaxing myself. And I have a playlist with Snow Allegra, Deontay Hitchcock on it. I have some Erica on there. Just stuff that's like good to just vibe to, you know, like a mood. Like,
Yeah.
So those have been my favorites. I've definitely listened to Deontay Hitchcock. Shout out to him for releasing his album. He's one of my favorite artists. So I'll listen to some of his stuff too. What about you?
Yeah, definitely bumping better. Shout out to Deontay Hitchcock. Why? Because we've been waiting forever for it, and he finally released it. So thank you, Deontay. It's about time. But yeah, we've been bumping better. Definitely been listening to like this is one thing going back to the Versus effect is that listening to some of those catalogs,
right?
It takes you back in a moment. So some people put the playlist up and you can catch it, especially if you on Tidal or whatever. You can catch it. Olivia Dope, shout out to Olivia Dope. She puts them up too. So I've been going back and listening to that. D Smoke has a song with Sir that's really dope. I forgot. I think it's called Let Go. And so I've been listening to that. Also, always listening to my bars playlist on Apple Music for good music. Meek Mill got a new song called Other Side of America. Definitely like it on point. So yeah, there's been I'm trying to think if there's been an album or something I've just been like, yo. I really just been going back and listening to old stuff sometimes too. Like I just created a Welcome to Atlanta playlist on Apple. So if you want to check it out, when I drop it, I'll definitely post it in the comments and stuff like that. Essential East Coast hip hop, just stuff I can work out to. My Spirit mix that I drop on SoundCloud, been listening to that as well. So spiritual inspiration, not just trying to like, you know, shameless plug, but really that's the type of stuff that I've been really listening to try to get myself together. So definitely go check out some artists out there. There's new music that's been dropping. Also shout out to the baby. He got a #1 hit with Rockstar, his first #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. So shout out to you, the baby, for that. So that's pretty much it.
Nice.
So we got into the Crossroads segment. You know that's the segment where we talk about an issue of faith that millennials or just people in general are dealing with. And we have an issue to discuss, all right? Sure. So I didn't mention this in What's Good with the Culture because I felt like it needed its own segment.
Yeah.
In case you have been hiding under a rock, which I'm sure you have not, you know that there have been plenty of cases of police brutality for forever. But it seems as though the brutality level has gone to an all-time high. Definitely in February, we found out about the death of Ahmaud Arbery, who was gunned down by 2 white men who was father and son, and recorded by another white man in Brunswick, Georgia, for taking a jog. After that, we found out about Breonna Taylor, who was gunned down in Louisville, Kentucky. Apparently there was a warrant out for her arrest, and there was a warrant, they were looking for the wrong person, and they ran into her spot and killed her. Then there was in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the death of George Floyd, who we probably all have seen the viral video of the officer, I think his name is Chauvin, who put his knee on the neck of George Floyd for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And that has put our country in a state of turmoil and civic unrest, okay? Civil unrest. It's been traumatizing to a lot of people. A lot of people have been outraged. Riots have occurred. Looting has occurred. Protests have occurred. That's why, if you can tell, my voice is a little raspy. because I was out protesting with IEA the other day, and so my voice is recovering. But there's a lot of us that are marching. There's a lot of us who are trying to find solutions. There are a lot of us who are just angry and hurt and we're tired. And then there's been a large outcry from the white community that finally wake up. They finally woke up. They've been being hip to what's been going on. They've been challenging systematic racism. They've been speaking out in many different platforms, in many different stages, to many different people. They've been reaching out personally. The ones that we know, been reaching out to us, wanting to convey how much they care about us and their allies and all the different stuff. And so Black Lives Matter has also been painted on streets. Washington, D.C., Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't know if it's in Buffalo yet, but they've been in different places. Chicago, I think. I could be wrong, but they've been just popping up in many different places, pretty much trying to stick it to white supremacy. There's also been the defamation, I don't know if that's the right word I'm looking for, the abolishment and the obliteration of Confederate flags, Confederate soldiers in Britain. And that's the thing, the craziness has gone so far as to international, that in Britain they're tearing down statues and throwing them in the water. Okay, there was also the calling of the cops of a black man by Amy Cooper. I forgot what his name is, but he was a Harvard professor or a graduate, and this white lady in New York in Central Park called the cops on him for no reason. Actually, all he did was ask her to tie up her dog in an area where there wasn't supposed to be dogs there, as he was bird watching. She got fired and embarrassed. There's been a whole lot of different things, and it's still going on. There's still people like Tony in Tallahassee, who was a transgender man who was murdered by the cops. There was just somebody also who'd been pulled over and was choked out, murdered by the cops in another state. It's still going on, and people are going crazy. They're not having it. Targets are burning down, the cities are burning, the riots are happening, protests are going on. And there's a big question about what is our response as people of faith. Whether you're Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, Jewish, it doesn't matter, or, you're just a spiritualist. There's been a question about what should be our response as a people of faith, which is really a good question to ask. So I'm gonna let my lovely, brilliant theologian scholar of a wife.
I am not a theologian scholar. Do not throw that out there.
I'm gonna let my wife, the great minister prophetess.
You're doing a lot.
Now, she is a minister and a prophetess, though. But I'm gonna let my wife, Iffy Natasha, give her thoughts. So what should we be doing as a people of faith? If you say you have faith, what should be our response?
Okay, so before I answer that question, I was reading a piece that a friend of mine wrote. His name is Ro Lamb.
Shout out to Ro. What up?
He wrote a piece on Medium about a conversation that he had with a former employer of his. He used to work for a nonprofit that was also, it's a Christian organization, and they would put on camps for kids, low-income kids, and he doesn't work for them anymore. And he sent the pastor a text and was like, hey, are you going to make a statement about this Black Lives Matter situation that's happening? Because I kind of think that Christian organizations and Christian churches who serve Black kids and Black youth should speak up.
Right.
And the pastor basically said, no, we're not making a statement. We only make statements if it has to do with the gospel or in our mission. And so Ro's response was like, wait, what? So he wrote this piece about it. You can go read it. Again, his name is Ro Lamb. But that conversation and other conversations that I've been seeing on my social media have confused me, because it seems as if there's a white Christian culture that kind of feels as if they're in conflict with this situation. Like they're not sure if they're supposed to speak out because it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the gospel. But I think as a people of faith, especially Christian culture, Christian faith, Christian organization, Christian churches, which is what I can speak to because I've been a part of a Christian church and culture most of my life. For me, it's like, if we are claiming to follow Jesus, then we should already know what to do. Like, Jesus was the ultimate person to speak out against injustice of people who are marginalized. I feel like Jesus, and Rowe talks about this in his piece, I feel like Jesus risked his reputation and risked everything to help people, to show and speak up against things that he felt like were unjust. And I feel like as people of faith, there shouldn't even be a question in this situation. There shouldn't even be, should we speak out? What should we say? Like, because it's black and white to me, no pun intended, but it's black and white to me. Like, do you care about equality? Yes. Is there equality happening for black people in America? And if your answer is yes, then you're either blind or you don't want to ask the questions that need to be asked, and you don't want to address the things that need to be addressed. And so for me, I just feel like if you have a voice, and you don't have to do it on a loudspeaker, you don't have to do it writing a piece, but you can do it in whatever way you're supposed to do it. If you have an organization and you look around and you're like, dang, all of my leadership is white, but I do have black people that probably could contribute, maybe you should change your leadership structure. If you're like, man, the way that we like run things may not be fair to black people, like, ask yourselves questions, you know what I mean? Like, I think we all have a role to play, and maybe your role isn't protesting and marching, but maybe your role is using your faith and what you know to be true and just and loving to make whatever changes you're able to make. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I think there's no way you could say you're a person of faith and be on the sidelines just watching.
Right.
I don't care what your faith is.
Right.
If your faith, well, all of our faiths has some sort of love component in it.
Right.
And if you love other people, then you would go out of your way to help another person. Let's just go back into the Christian world, right? Because that's where I'm most versed in, right? Scripture tells us that Jesus himself gave a parable about there was a shepherd and sheep, and 99 of them stayed, but one went away, and he left the 99 to go after the lost, okay? Mm-hmm. No greater love is this than to lay down one life for another, for a brother. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
That's probably, okay? That's the one that's across the board. I've studied other like religious texts. Mm-hmm. That's the one across the board that's like the same. The golden rule. You know, we've been doing that since 3rd grade, okay? Right. Probably kindergarten. Right. So I think that you can't say, and especially if you follow the historical Jesus, not the whitewashed, white supremacist Jesus. If you follow the historical Jesus, then you know Jesus was a marginalized individual because of many different ways. His ethnicity definitely played a role in it. He was oppressed by the Roman government. He was executed by the state. He was the person. He's the archetype of who these black people are. He was unarmed and he was killed by the authorities. Yeah.
Period. Okay. So we know this has been going on for years. This is nothing new. You know what I mean? Will Smith said it best. Racism isn't just now appearing. It's just now being filmed.
Right.
Okay? This has been going on. And so I think what has happened is because we have been in quarantine and we've had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Right? But to sit there and be on the internet or watch TV or whatever like that, is you can't run anymore.
Yeah. You
can't run away to your job or, you know what I mean, to sport activities. You can't. So when you're face to face with a person who's being suffocated, excuse me, who's begging to breathe and saying the same thing that another person who was killed by the police in almost the exact same way with Eric Gardner in New York, saying the exact same words, I can't breathe. There's something in you that cannot shy away from that. Now, I think that's why I think George Floyd, of course, is not the first martyr.
Right.
He's not the first person who died of police brutality or been a victim of police brutality. But he was the icing on the cake.
Yeah, it was like the straw.
Because, like, again, you had Ahmaud Arbery, you had Breonna Taylor, you had Amy Cooper calling the cop, then you had George Floyd.
Enough was enough.
Enough was enough.
Yeah.
You can't, and you know, the generations that are younger than me, I'm a millennial, the generation Z's and even the they not for the forgiveness. They wasn't raised in the church. They wasn't raised to turn the other cheek. They bought that action. You know what I mean? And so the rioting and and people talking like, are you against the rioters? At first I was against the riots. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, yo, rioting is not gonna cause anything, it's not gonna change anything, it's not gonna do anything. And why tear up your own community? You know what I mean? But I will say that I think because of the rioting and looting, not only does it put an effect in white America's economy, but it's also making the white people who've always had this fear, right? White people have always had this fear. What would happen if black people was to unite? What would happen if black people was to uprise? What would happen, like if Nat Turner happened in 20, what would happen? And now you're seeing it. The cities are burning. You know what I mean? The businesses are hit. Now, I do not agree in hurting black businesses because that's us. There's no point to that. You know, but I do understand.
That's us.
I do understand the anger and frustration and the ignorance that occurs. You know what I mean? And Kimberly Jones said this really well. She said there's 3 different types of people that's happening. There's the protesters, there's the rioters, and the looters. You know, protesters are really out there trying to make a change. The rioters are just angry and they're upset and they don't really care. And the looters are just out there trying to get some. You know what I mean?
That's great.
And you got to be willing to distinguish between the 3 different types of people.
Agreed.
However, you know, I think that it's time out for black people just to be accepting white oppression. It's not okay. You know what I mean? And you're seeing it. You're seeing what's happening. And so I'm for revolution. We're revolutionary, so I'm never going to be against the revolution. But I do think, again, we can riot, we can protest, we can do that, but we need policies change, and we're dealing with mindsets. And this is where I think the faith community comes in. We need to be praying. We need to be not just praying. We need to be interceding. We need to be putting people in place and power. We need to be leading by example. We don't need to be sitting there commentating on the sideline. This is not time for analysis. This is time for action, okay?
Agreed.
No first takes over here. No everyday struggles over here. You need to be on the front line or shut up. You need to be voting, okay? You need to be going out to the polls and voting. And I know you may think voting don't matter, but it does, okay? Because policy changes. Dr. King and the Civil Rights Movement was able to do what they was able to do because not only did they have people voting, but King was in the Oval Office with Lyndon B. Johnson getting the bill signed. If LBJ didn't sign the bill, the Civil Rights Act wouldn't have happened. That's point blank clear. So yeah, we may not lock Trump and we might try to get him out of here, but we also need a black representative in the office that's sitting there talking. So if that's Kanye, let it be Ye. If it's Kim Kardashian, let it be Kim. Whoever it is, I don't care who it is. Steve Harvey, who cares? You know what I mean? Tip, Killer Mike, I don't care who it is, but we need somebody who's advocating for the people, on behalf of the people, to the higher ups. And we need to be going out to vote, standing in the lines. I know, I was in line for 3 hours yesterday. It was out of control. The voter suppression is real, and they really trying to stop our vote. They trying to stop our progress, but we cannot let it happen. Power got to be to the people, all right? So I know that was a lot, but I think as people of faith, it is our job, it is our due diligence. If we're going to say we're followers of Jesus or any God, universe, whatever like that, if we've been sitting here for a purpose, it is our job and our mandate to sit there and help out, to stand arm in arm, solidarity. Because you're seeing, the NFL's even coming out and apologizing. I want to say, NFL, you need to say his name. Okay. Say Colin Kaepernick, I'm sorry. Right. Don't be sitting here just trying to say we should have listened to all, but no.
Do something about it.
And put that man in a job.
I think that's been my biggest thing is like, I wanted to shout out and bring up people who are doing things, people of faith, organizations, churches, leaders who are saying things, who are preaching to their congregations, who are making changes. Because I'm sure that there are people who are actually doing things. But I also feel like it's nice for people to apologize. It's nice for people to be conscious. It's nice for people to say, man, this is really happening.
Right, like these senators with these kente clause and stuff like that.
Oh, don't get me started on the kente clause. I can't stand for the kente club. But I think that people have to do stuff. Like I think you need to do things, and I think there's been this question of, we were listening to Pastor Cooper, Dr. Cooper of Mount Perrin, and he was saying, we need to do this. And then he would say, I know you're thinking, what is this going to do? And then he would give an answer to like, well, this is what this is going to do. Mm-hmm. And so if you have a church, if you have an organization, if you have a community group, you know what I mean? You got a neighborhood watch. Like, y'all need to get together and talk about how can we change things so that we're better. Like, I think small clusters of people,
right?
Small organizations, big organizations, leadership teams, do things within your space to make things better in your space.
Facts.
Like, if you have any influence, whether it, like I said, if it's influence over your neighborhood, you the community board leader, like do stuff in that space. You know what I mean? Like, I think that maybe people think that you have to do huge things and you don't. And I think to the people who are looking at this was my conflict. The people who are looking at this like, oh, it's not happening, or it's not our job to speak out on that because that's not kingdom work. And if this isn't kingdom work, like if helping the oppressed and marginalized and speaking out and standing with people who need help is not kingdom work, I don't know what kingdom you are talking about.
Facts.
Don't know what kingdom you are preaching for and to. I don't know what kingdom you're a part of. I don't feel like oneness looks like people standing on the sidelines looking at something happening and saying that's not actually happening, they're making it up.
If anything, you're part of the kingdom of darkness, and I'm just be honest with you.
Like, go on somewhere.
You need the light to shine on you. You know what I mean? And here's another thing to my white people: public service announcement. Don't just sit there and talk about what you're gonna do or how you feel privately. You need to say it publicly and privately. Okay? You need and be authentic, because there's a real thought that are people just doing this for the clout? Is it for the business? Is it just, you know what I mean? And we don't really, because black people don't trust white people. I'm gonna put it out there. We don't trust you, okay? So your action, you can tell me, but there's always that little inkling in mind that you're gonna screw us over. And so even if you're a person of faith, even if you say you love Jesus, even if you need to do it privately and publicly. Sure, put it on your social media, put it in your congregation, but also talk to your family members, talk to your white friends, talk to your people who are out there, who you're with, and your influence. You need to be talking to them, giving game, challenging them, like the white girl. Shout out to Haley, who challenged her parents, and it's went viral on TikTok. Yeah. You know what I mean, exposing it. Shout out to y'all, because those are you're risking your discomfort. You're risking your reputation. And that's something that we do every day. Not only do we risk our discomfort and our reputation, we risk our lives every day because of the color of our skin, that we was graced by God's grace and melanin to be as fabulous as we are and as dope as we are. Every day we out there risking our lives, and we tired. I'm not about to sit there and make you feel comfortable for your guilt and stuff like that. If you ain't do it, cool. Be a part of the solution. Right. Come up with a solution. Right. Figure out a way. Right. Don't be sitting there coming to me to make you feel good about yourself. No. And I ain't about to turn down my blackness for you either, because it's not my job to do that. Just like I'm not my job I gotta learn about American history. I gotta learn about all that stuff. And you know what you don't gotta learn about? Black history, which is what? American history, okay? So
you need to
yo. Because when you out there in the streets, you feel a different type of way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you sitting there watching your phone and stuff, you're like, oh my God. But when you out there in the streets and you telling them to say his name, say her name, and you see a whole bunch of people from different races and stuff, it's a different type of energy you feel. It's a different type of feeling, you know what I mean? And so no sideline Christianity, no sideline faith walkers, no sideline commentators. I don't want to see nothing on your timeline. I don't want to see a text. I don't want to see nothing if you ain't in the game.
Right.
And you ain't got to prove to me what in the game is.
Right.
I'm going to feel it. Just do it. You know what I mean?
Do it. Okay. That was good.
Thank you, babe.
Okay.
All right. So if you got an issue with what I got to say, feel free to drop a comment, leave a review. If you loving what we got to say, please drop a comment, leave a review, share this content to everybody. Download the podcast, watch it, rerun it, do whatever you need to do. Excuse me, like I said, subscribe, do what you need to do, because we just want to foster the conversation. You could agree, disagree, whatever like that. I'm going to love you regardless. I ain't got to like you, but I'm going to love you. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we're going to get into the favorite subject, favorite topic, favorite segment of the show, Top 5. Okay? So, Top 5 segment is always a time where we argue or debate about something in culture, in hip hop, in music. But because, again, this is a very black version of the Crowns Up podcast, I want to make sure that we deal with some solutions. We can talk about the problems all day, but we need to figure out what are the solutions. So let's give the people our top 5 ways or top 5 things we can do to move forward.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm first.
Always.
All right. So I'm probably going to take a slightly different approach. I feel like as you were talking, it made me think about my people, black women, black men who are trying to get through this moment, trying to move forward. So I'm going to give some top 5 ways I feel like we can move forward. I feel like number 1, we got to listen to ourselves. We have to listen to ourselves internally, our bodies. When we're tired, we need to rest. When we need to create, we need to create. When we need to cry, we need to cry. When we need to reach out, we need to reach out. We need to listen to ourselves. Like, what is your soul telling you to do? You know, is your soul telling you to write something? Is it telling you to call your mom, your grandma, your auntie? Is it telling you to start an organization? Whatever that is, we got to listen to ourselves. That's number 1. Number 2, I feel like we have to unite. We have to unite, and not just ethereal uniting. Like, we have to unite with a cause. We have to unite with an organization. We have to unite with friends. There are people that are in my circle, they're like, all right, we about to do this thing. Let's partner together. We got to unite and do things to move forward. I feel like we have to make sure that we are supporting black businesses with our money.
Yeah.
And with our mouths and with however, and we can start small. You know, you can start like, you know what, I'm going to eat at a black owned restaurant every week. You know what, I'm going to take my clothes to a black owned dry cleaners. Like, support black businesses, period. Also, I think we need to start, number 4, we need to start looking at how we can use our money for good and for generational wealth and stability. So that's not just supporting black businesses. That's like another thing. I think using our money for black wealth and sustainability is, you know what? I'm going to buy a house so that my children can have something when I'm no longer here. I'm going to make sure that we have life insurance. I'm going to make sure that we are investing. I'm going to make sure that I start this bank account, this savings over here for my kids and their kids and their kids. You know, like things that we can do to build generational wealth. And number 5, I feel like we got to be happy and we got to do things that make us happy. I feel like black people, we're a joyful people, period. We laugh. Like, when you go to those threads on Instagram, like, of black people laughing, like, it brings you so much joy. Yeah. And I feel like that we got to make sure we don't lose sight of, like, being happy and being joyful and being ourselves, because at the end of the day, that's one way we move forward. We've always been people who've been artistic, we've been joyful, we've had fun, we've made music that moves us forward, that makes us feel good. So I feel like we have to remember that. So those are my top 5 things.
Big facts. So number 5, I'm going to say we need therapy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We need therapy, man. We need to be able to talk to somebody. If you need a therapist, hit me up.
Yeah. DM
me, text me, leave a comment. I got a dope one, okay?
Yeah.
I also think we need a group therapy. We need a city therapy.
Agreed.
We need a not a time for you to tell us what to do, but to hear what the people got to say and how the people feel.
Yeah.
If you got a job, if you own a job, if you run a job, if you're an executive, you need to implement group therapy.
I'm with that.
Meditation, prayer, okay? Whatever it takes. A woosah type of moment.
Yeah, shout out to Zah.
4, shout out to Zah. 4, I agree. We need to support black businesses. There are many black businesses that are really hurting right now because unlike these Fortune 500 companies, they did not get the stimulus bailout money, okay? So they struggling. So please support black businesses. You can support them by sharing a good review, by actually putting money into their pockets, by telling other people where they can find a good black business, whether that's a restaurant, a barbershop, a dry cleaner, like they said, a bank, all those things. We need to support black businesses. Number 3, we need to support each other. We need to love each other.
Yeah.
And that means we're going to have to love those who hate us. Jesus himself said, you know, what good is it to only love those who love you? Even the tax collectors do that. Even the sinners do that. You know what I'm saying? But bless those who curse you. Do good to those who want to do harm to you. And some of those people are our non-melanated brothers and sisters, cousins, associates. We need to love them. But also, we need to love our own. We need to love the skin that we in. We need to love ourselves. And we need to love other people well. There's too many people that's dying. You know, I got a cousin who died from COVID. I got people who've been affected by COVID. I got people who've been affected, traumatized by what they've seen. Life is too short, and no man knows the hour or the day, not only when the Christ is coming back, but when it's going to be your time to go see him. So in that case, when you got these 24 hours, make sure you make the most out of it. Love somebody, care for somebody, call somebody, text somebody, check on your strong friends, check on your weak friends, check on the friends that's in between weak and being strong. You know what I mean? Care for your spouse better, care for your children better, care for your boo better. You know what I mean? Your quarantine bae that you laid up with and you watching, care for them a little bit better than you are. But care for your bosses better. You don't know the stress they're going through right now. You know, care for those. People don't care how much you know till they know how much you care, right? So care for people well. 2, have some fun. Take a break. You know what I mean? Go watch a comedy special. Go jump in some water if you can.
Yes.
And then still keep social distance, but go play some video games. Go take a walk.
Yes.
Have some fun. Laugh. Enjoy. You need it. Your soul needs it, okay? Because it's too stressful of a time, and we don't need you dying of a heart attack or going through a depression because you don't want to have no fun and you feel trapped to this. You are not trapped to the things of this world, okay? You have authority to be able to have fun and take care of yourself. So please, please, please have some fun. You may think like this ain't no laughing time, this ain't a fun time. Right. It may not be, but you need to make some time for it. Just like you need to make time for rest and Sabbath, which is also one of the 10 commandments, by the way. You need to make time for fun, okay? Yeah. Have some fun. I don't know what fun is for you. You know what I'm saying? I know what fun is for me, but I don't know what fun is for you. So make sure you have some fun, okay? Shout out to the fun people out there.
Annoying.
And number 1, but last but definitely not least, you need to seek the Lord. We as a people need to seek the Lord. I'm not talking about just sitting there praying. I'm talking about seeking. You need to tap in. Tap into the Spirit of God himself, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning, the one who knows the very number of follicles in your hair, bro. You need to tap in, sis. Okay, because the Holy Spirit will give you instruction on how to navigate through this world and how to navigate this space. Okay, you may be feeling like Job. You may feel like all is lost. You know what I mean? But even Job, who got his family taken away from him, who got his fortune taken away from him, even Job said, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And that may be hard for a lot of us. Please hear me. I'm not saying we need to be passive. I don't think the faith that at least I'm a part of is a passive faith at all. If anything, it's a very revolutionary, about it, right, we with it all day. It's a very passionate faith. But you need to tap in. Tap into what the business moves are that the Lord's trying to give you. Tap into what the relationships are that the Lord's trying to surround you with or move away from you. Tap in to the purpose that God is trying to give you. Tap in. Because as a people, if we tap in, I promise we're going to be all right. In the words of the prophet Kendrick Lamar, you messed up, maybe I messed up, but if God got us, then we going to be all right. And you know how we going to be all right? Is if we tap in. Tap in, please. Please tap in. And I think that's my top 5.
Yeah, that's good.
Yo, so how do you like this black edition of the...
It was cool.
I don't know what we're going to title it. Maybe I don't know. What do you want to title it?
Black as fuck. I'm just playing. I don't know.
There you go. There you go. Boom, that's going to be our title. So make sure you please subscribe, follow, share, on all platforms. Again, we're finally on all platforms, so go find us on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, all the teams at Crowns Up Pod. That's CROWNSUPPOD. All right. Please drop a review. Please share. Let people know about us. And if you want to be on the show, hit me up, DM me. If you got music and you want it to play in the background, hit me up. We all need some new music and stuff like that. If you got music that you want us to review or something like that and shout you out when we talk about what we listen to, let me know. We got you on that as well. Babe, tell them how they need to contact with you and connect with you. They need a soul session, if they need a love letter, if they need a book, if they need just to hear your voice.
Right now, things are going to change in a couple weeks, but right now you can go to ifynatasha.com and just contact me, hit me up, or you can hit me up on IG at ifynatasha if you need anything. And if I can't help you, hopefully I know somebody who can. And let's all just move forward together. That's what I'm trying to do.
Facts. As always, you know what I mean? It's the kid Professor X. Follow me on all social media at Professor X. That's PROFEZZORX. We are always keeping your crown fit and your soul lit. Remember, especially in these times, that power to the people, Black Lives Matter, and to continue. Keep your crowns up. We love y'all. Be blessed. Later.